Hey, what is up? It's Carmine and Maegan in the morning on YF 95.5. And if you listen today, we talked about the OnlyFans mom, who, of course, had her kids kicked off their respective sports teams because of what she does. And as we've said many times, we hate cancel culture, Maegan.
Oh, we are so over it. We also talked about this story last week. We still have it up on the blog for you if you want to check out some of the details. That's wild955.com, keyword morning. But we are lucky enough to actually get more in depth with this story with Sara Blake Cheek, who we have. Hi, Sara.
Going right to the source.
Hi.
Thank you so much
Yes.
for joining us.
So we want to kind of start from the beginning. We want to tell the story of how everything happened to be where it is now. So kind of how did you get started on OnlyFans?
So I had two salons, one in Kansas and one in Tennessee. And essentially when COVID hit, I was out of business. My husband was facing being laid off. So I had a huge following on TikTok, and a lot of these followers were asking me if I had an OnlyFans. And I wasn't too familiar with the platform. My husband wasn't either. So I brought it to his attention, and I was like, people keep asking me if I posted some implied images on that OnlyFans. And that first day we made $8,000.
Whoa. You're like, yeah, we're about this life. So and your husband was your number one fan to begin with. Is he still your number one supporter, and he's all about this OnlyFans page?
Yes, he is the best.
Well, good. It's good to have the support of your man behind you, especially when you are making that paper. Good for you, girlfriend. Now, at what point did this get the attention of your children's school? And do your children know what you do online?
So my children, they're familiar with what I do because this has provided so much opportunity outside of OnlyFans. I'm not anymore only defined by that. So they've been with me to photo shoots where I've shot for magazines, where different brands have reached out and asked me to promote them. And, they also go with me to my trainer and work out with me, and they see how much I put into this, and they see what's become of it. It really did get the attention of, and it wasn't their school. It was a rec league. So they, that got the attention of them. When I first started, I wasn't promoting this. I didn't expect it to be exactly where it's at right now, which is why I never used an alias. I used my real name, and now it is where it's at. But when I first started, like I said, I wasn't promoting it on Instagram. My Instagram was actually not as sexy as it is now. I was in t-shirts and jean shorts, and I also had just had a baby not too long ago. So I wasn't, I was in that postpartum mom bod phase still. So at that point, when the cheerleading coach, she actually followed my social medias, and she had to seek out that link and really seek out that information.
Oh, it's the cheerleading coach.
And that's when the pettiness really started, right? Because they attacked your daughter instead of just coming to you and I don't know, like an adult would,
right,
and have a conversation and say, hey, I saw this. Would you like to talk about it? And you could be like, no, mind your business. But how'd that happen with your daughter?
So a couple of the other moms had actually noticed that my daughter was being singled out and treated differently. I was mostly, when I attended practice, I was mostly on the football side watching the boys because they were a lot younger, and my husband was one of the assistant coaches, so I needed to help on the sideline there more. So one of the other moms had approached me and said, things are almost looking like an attack on her. They've dropped her from the mount. There's, several safety measures that aren't being, taken over there. We've also heard the cheerleading coach tell all the kids to stay away from your daughter because she has a contagious disease called acne.
Oh my gosh. Mama Bear then. They were poking Mama Bear, weren't they?
They did. And I knew I had an idea of what was going on because of the the followers that were starting to follow me from that organization. I could see who it was, and I knew that by poking at me with her, they were trying to get a reaction to either try to spin it or try to get me to act a certain way so that they had a reason to get rid of me, instead of just using this as the hunt and the attack. So I didn't give that to them, and I think that escalated the situation further.
Well, I just want to say, I just want to say, number one, good for you for standing your ground, because personally, I think we're in agreement here. We think it's none of their business and they should have stayed out of it. But also, good on your family. You're obviously such a good mom. You're doing everything that you can to provide for your kids. And it sounds like your kids really support you too, which I think is incredible.
And another thing too is like, what's more damaging, singling out a kid and making fun of them for having acne, which everybody has anyway, to make it seem like it's more than, or what you're doing to have. It's not like someone's just going to stumble upon your page. You have to go out and seek it, as opposed to just singling out a kid for nothing she did, and you're not in the wrong either. So it's just it's crazy. And your husband, you said he was an assistant coach on the football team. Did he get backlash from this as well, or?
So, I mean, they approached me first. They wanted to have a meeting, and they had this paperwork drawn up that said if I wanted for my kids to remain in their extracurricular activity of football and cheerleading, that I would have to sign this paperwork. And it said I wasn't allowed on the property. I wasn't allowed to communicate with any of their coaches or parents. That I wouldn't be allowed to attend practices, games, or anything. And, they gave me that ultimatum. And at that time, the boys were in football. They weren't being affected. My daughter, there were things that you don't want to see happen. But I entrusted my faith in a couple of the other moms. And I never wanted anything that I did to affect them and what they were doing. And if they were happy and they loved it and things weren't affecting them at the time, or whatever, they had wanted me gone. So after that happened, then the attack came for the boys, where they told my 5-year-old he couldn't play football anymore. And so my husband, he was an assistant coach, and he had gave his word to all the other kids and all the other parents, and we still tried to do the right thing. We wanted to handle this correctly and keep our word. And I wasn't able to be involved, but I still made goodie bags and made sure that we made game day bags for these boys, because my son was still there. And I very much so wanted to keep this a positive experience when there was already so much trauma to my daughter and now my son. So he tried to finish out the season, and that actually escalated things to where one of the coaches got physical with him during a game in front of the little boys. Yes, it was really bad. So, my husband is very non-confrontational. I would say I'm more of the outspoken one. So he was like, hey, if you have some choice words and want to handle this, let's do this after the game and not in front of the boys.
Right.
And, at that point, the coach had said, nobody likes your bleep, garden tool. We'll say it's a garden tool. Wow. Wife. Nobody wants your family here or her or that reputation. So at this point, you need to get away. So once it escalated to that situation, we were like, let's just preserve our children and not let this be their experience, and try to, make the most out of what we can now, which is get out and do damage control.
I would have punched that coach right now. I said you would punch him right in the mouth. I don't know how your husband kept his composure, because his wife's being disrespected right in front of his face like that, and it's also just because of what you do. It's not someone's invitation to just treat you less than. And that's as an adult, that's so pathetic that somebody would do that. Like you said, even in front of kids, they're 5 years old. So like I said, I know your son doesn't understand the entire gravity of the situation, but what he's saying is my mom does something and I'm not allowed to play with my friends. So
right. And he kind of, and at that point, you're 5 years old, you don't understand. You love your mom and you're not seeing certain things. So, and I keep things very separate. Like nobody would know what I do unless they know who I am. The way I dress is inviting. I don't blast what I do. I keep it very separate because I do have little kids.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like you even said, you use your real name, which I was actually going to ask you that question. I was like, is Cheek your last name? Because I was like, not to be funny, but you'd think something like that could have been just a stage name or an OnlyFans. Yeah. So
she got lucky when it came to the Instagram pun there.
Yes.
So Sara, I have to ask you because of course I checked out the Instagram. I saw something today and I'm all about it. You have baby goats. So how did that happen? When did you first start getting into the goat community? Maegan is afraid of goats, so that's another reason why I wanted to bring that up.
So I actually we bought a farm. So we sold our house and then we decided to buy this farm on 6 acres and there's a barn and stables and I wanted animals. I didn't know which type of animals I wanted. I just always wanted animals. And my husband jokes because he's like, oh, she started watching Yellowstone and now there wants to be
horses, goats, whatever you can fit on the farm.
So we got these goats. They're mini goats. They're Nigerian dwarf goats. And they are amazing. I mean, I would say they're better than dogs. They love us. Like they just want your attention. Like they follow you around.
They jump, right? Can't they jump? What goats jump? Can they jump or no?
Yes, they can jump on top of everything. It's so insane. They're vertical. It's just like it's incredible.
That's it, right?
That's so awesome.
All right. Really well, it's super cool. Like you guys are the family next door. I think that, you're not doing anything different than most households in America. It's just that your story has been brought to attention because of the mistreatment that you guys have, received over the backlash of this. So not to derail from goats too much, but
wait, hold on. I got $1 million idea. You can transition from OnlyFans to OnlyFarms, and it's just you doing farming
OnlyFarms
the entire time.
Like Farmers Only
Farmers Only is greasy, but this is for OnlyFarms. There's a bunch of stuff on the farm,
Okay. It's not a terrible idea. I'm not going to lie. So where are we now? Like, are the kids still doing extracurriculars? Has some of the drama kind of toned down from the situation?
So my kids actually, they changed schools. They changed schools because a lot of the parents who were in this organization were associated with that school. They were also associated in that neighborhood. So we bought a farm. We moved out of that neighborhood. They changed schools. My daughter tried out for the cheer team on her school, and she made it.
Yeah.
Yes. And then my son, actually, my oldest son, he fell in love with hockey. And he is killing it. And it's not just because he's my son that I say he's amazing in it. He scored 14 goals in one game. So
wow, he's really good.
Got a little Gretzky on our hands.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's actually what his coaches call him, Little Gretzky. So he's doing that. My other son, we've kind of just muted the topic and kind of dance around doing football any further. I think if we reach that point, we'll try to cross it, but it's a very tender subject. So my youngest, of course he wants to play football. It's just, we just don't know how to re-enter that environment. And we're kind of like, oh, you should do hockey. You should give it a try.
Oh, I love hockey so much. And would you have any desire down the road to maybe open up another salon to get back into the salon community?
the reason why I opened up my salons is because I wanted to empower women, and I wanted them to get the experience of being, having that individualism with your stylist and connecting with them. Now I've reached a point in my life that I don't think that that's the direction I want to go anymore. I still want women to feel beautiful. It's just a lot of work, and it took a lot of my time away from my family. So I was put in a position where I was at the salon late at night, and I missed out on so much with my kids. So the benefit from doing this is that I get to enjoy their childhood. I get to enjoy and be a part of everything they're doing and be present as a mom. But I've actually had so many other opportunities from doing this. Right now I do the SEC sports picks for Egotastic. I write for Pro Sports Extra. So I've had opportunities from becoming, an OnlyFans model and one of the top creators. And I love sports. That's just a part of who I am. We really like football. I'm a huge Volunteer fan. I love Tennessee
Well, as our
football.
boss, the boss Tommy's a huge Tennessee fan. So yeah.
So I do the SEC sports picks, and I don't want to toot my own horn. But I have the best picking percentage in the whole entire sports community. That's with ESPN commentators, with everybody. We sat down one day and we added up the percentage of how many I got right and what my calls were, and I had the best.
Well,
and
plus you have a son that's going to make it to the NHL one day, so just the sports keeps on coming.
Well, you are beauty and brains and class, and I think we've heard enough to find out that you are a fantastic mom.
And you're still empowering women.
Absolutely.
So absolutely, even though you're not at the salon community anymore.
Exactly.
Sure.
So we are huge fans of yours, and thank you again so much for giving us this opportunity to hear things from your side.
Yes, Sarah, thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me that opportunity as well.
Course.
Well, we would love to speak to you in the future. We'll get like an update, maybe a few months down the road, find out how the family is doing, how the goats are.
More importantly, some picks on some big winners. That's what we definitely need. So.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, until then, Sara, thank you again. And this will be on our blog, wild955.com, where it'll live forever. You can check it out. It's also going to be on our social media at wild955FM. And
Carmine and Maegan, we have so many social media.
So many places that you can get a hold of us.
Sarah, thank you so much again.
Bye.